Alright, we've been doing some good work. Let's make sure we're saving along the way. So the shortcut for saving, you can go to File, Save, or you can hit on the Macintosh Command S. What I want to do now is just show you how to do a gradient. It's very simple. And we'll do it with this first segment of this body. So I'm going to come back to the fill color, make sure that the fill color is in front, and then down below you'll see that I can convert this to a gradient. So let's go ahead and click that. Now by default, kind of did things a little bit harsh. We got white to black and it's going sideways. But I now can open up the gradient window tool. In fact, mine opened up automatically. So I got this set to linear, which is good. But I want to change the angle. So you can click on this option and there's some preset ones. You can find one that you like best. I'm going to choose minus 60 degrees. That gets it going from white at the top left all the way down to black at the top bottom right. Now the black is a little harsh, so I'm going to change the black color. And why I do that is you can see there's two color little swatches in this gradient. So I'm going to double click this black one to open up the options there. And I'm just going to choose one of these mid-tone grays. So that's not as dark, and that probably looks a lot better. And then the other thing I can do is I can drag this white one over so that it's white for a lot longer. And there's even like this little tool in between here that lets you adjust what that looks like, or where the middle of that gray starts and where it ends. And that's probably a good spot right here. So the white is almost to the middle. The gray is all the way at the very end. And then this gradient adjustment tool is not quite in the middle, but about at 73%. So that gives it a nice white to a gray and almost makes it look like a drop shadow. Now to repeat that, I can click on this next line segment and I can come over to my tools and there's an eyedropper tool. You can use the shortcut I as well, and notice that this one is selected, and then I'm going to eyedrop tool the bottom one, and then it copies it. However, it didn't copy the angle, so I gotta again change that to minus 60. Now maybe this one I want that gray to even be a little lighter, so I can choose one shade lighter. I'll choose this next one, and once again eyedropper tool. It gets the colors, but I gotta come back and change the angle to minus 60, and maybe once again I drop that color just a little bit more. And that's kind of a nice little way to add a little bit of dimension to your Illustrator file, and it's not everything is so flat, and that makes it can make it for a nice little vector. And so it's a way of simulating a realistic effect, but we're using a very soft gradient to do so. Now you have to be careful with gradients because gradients can introduce what's called banding, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to see it. You can barely see it here, probably a little better down here, but as we get a little closer there are these stripes that go sideways, and that's because the computer has a hard time of making those steps and jumps between those increments. So sometimes when you add a gradient, you'll notice that there's a lot of banding, especially the darker the contrast. So in this case, it gets even worse if I go from a dark black to a white. You'll maybe learn a little bit. So the more subtle you can keep this, the less obvious the banding is in your document when you add a gradient. But that's gradients. In our next one, we're going to add, let's see, we're going to probably play around with a little bit of opacity.